Hey guys, today we are going to do Montreal smoked meat. First things first, we got to get a brisket. We'll cut it open, get all the fat trimmed off, and we'll have that in a separate video, just a smaller version for anybody that just wants to know how to trim a brisket. Okay, let's get into this brisket. We're going to start by trying to cut all of this stuff away here. The hard fat that won't render down. Make that shelf. Sometimes you have to go kind of deep in here, but you don't have to go too crazy. Once you get a bit of the shelf there, I mean, this is gonna, that could burn up anyways. So just dig out the stuff on top. Try and cut away from yourself, of course. Oh, there's a bit more on the end here. Now, I don't go too crazy with trimming. I leave a fair bit of fat on. Fat's where the flavor is. It's just the hard stuff. That's what I want to get off. Good size one. And then I don't know if you can see this, but here you've got a shelf of a ½ an inch. Smoke won't really penetrate that, and especially for Montreal smoked meat, I want to get down to a lot of the muscle and just leave a little layer of fat here, but the cure has to be able to penetrate. And it will penetrate fat, but at the end of the day, especially if you're doing this for friends and family, you don't want to serve an awful lot of fat. You're still going to get a lot, especially up in this section. It's got great marbling always. So you don't need too much on the outside. See, the marbling here is just fantastic. It's going to be a wonderfully flavored brisket to begin with, so we don't need a ton of fat. So I'm just going to take some off the top here and see just how thick of a fat cap we're talking about. See, that's taking off 1/8 of an inch. Still nothing but fat here. Alright, we're starting to see some pink coming through there. So I'll leave the rest of that because it's not overly hard. But the cure will definitely penetrate. Oh yeah, there we go, right in the muscle. So we're down to about 1/4 inch. Not much of a fat cap there. Some of this loose stuff is just going to become crumble anyways. Might as well take that off. Here's the catch-22 is I've got a piece right here. It might be worthwhile just cutting that off. There we go. I mean, I'm cutting off some meat with it, but it'll give it a nice rounded edge. And cut off that chunk of dark. I can put that into grind later on if I want to. Okay, so the brisket is trimmed. We get to go with the recipe. Okay, for the recipe, we're going to use 1 cup of kosher salt with 1 tablespoon of pink curing salt or prog powder, whole cloves, cardamom, and caraway seeds, and 3 tablespoons of coarse ground black pepper. Now these are obviously whole, so I'm going to put those in a blender really quick. Usually I used to use my mortar and pestle, but it's a lot quicker and easier to just give it a really quick spin in a little blender. And sometimes I'll even toast them for an extra bit of flavor. You want to go really quick. You don't want to make it dust, just enough to break them up. A little bit more. Similar consistency to the ground pepper and the kosher salt. You want nice big grinds. That's about as good as we're going to get. So, I'll use my mortar as a mixing bowl this time around. When you pour everything in, make sure you give it a really good stir. Make sure that pink salt is very even throughout the entire blend, and you're going to want to make sure that that blend is really even among the entire brisket. Change the camera angle a bit here. You're going to notice this is quite a bit of mix, and you're going to want to try and use all of it. Every square inch has to get covered because you want that pink salt and the flavor to sink in from every single point of entry possible. Give it a really nice pat down. Now, I never use binders or anything like that. I've always just used my hands to spread it around. There will be quite a bit that falls off, but we will keep that in the tub. Now, if you watched my previous videos, then you know that last time around I vacuum sealed the entire brisket. If you're doing this at home, I still recommend that, because it's quite easy to do that and keep it in your fridge. It isolates it from everything else. You don't have to worry about cross-contamination or even something getting into it. Don't have to worry about people leaving. Excuse me, that's heavy. Don't have to worry about anything really when it's vacuum sealed, and it does cure it a little bit quicker. Same as sous vide or marination. But since I do now 2 or 3 at a time, I put them in a tub and I rotate them twice a day, usually morning and afternoon. It would seem that these things turn out really well, considering everybody I know wants one. So this is number 1 of 3 that we're doing today. I'm just going to rush through this one and get to the others and get them in the fridge. The important part is to make sure that coating is over every square inch, including these little end bits. And you'll see the salt automatically right away starts drawing out that moisture. If you're doing it in a bag, you will notice that there's puddles start forming as the salt draws out the moisture of the beef, and that's perfect. Some sort of a container. I like to use a drying rack on the bottom, so you keep it up a little bit, and that way you can see all the moisture coming out of the bottom. A little bit more up in there. That shelf is always a bit of an issue. Now, next step is just letting it rest in the fridge for 7 days. We flip it every day, at least twice. And by the end of the 7 days, that's when we wash this off. We're going to rinse the entire brisket under water for about 30 minutes per rinse, doing that at least 2 to 3 times. That way, when the water comes clean, you're getting a lot of the nitrates and bad stuff out of the meat and a lot of the salt. Now, the second rub that we put on is almost all flavor, next to no salt, because the saltiness is going to be right in the meat. And, I mean, let's be honest here, overly salted meat just doesn't taste good. That's why they don't do salt beef and salt pork and stuff like that too much anymore. Now, aside from that, what you're going to see at the end is a perfectly done Montreal smoked meat brisket. We're going to slice it up into smaller portions. You can do this at home just with a good knife on your own. I'm lucky and I have a meat slicer. I can't wait to try it out on something this size. Anyways, next time when we come back, we'll show you how to smoke it and then how to steam it. Okay, for the last part of our Montreal smoked meat, we have to steam it. This can pose a bit of a challenge, and a couple people in the comments have asked me. I don't have this stuff at home. It's actually really easy because it's not a real steamer. This is a steamer tray, or used in a chafing dish, and usually you put little tea lights underneath it. It keeps your food warm. In this case, we're putting it on burners of a stove. We take any kind of glass, little glassware like this will work, and then a simple drying tray. Usually this is meant for cooling off your muffins or cakes or whatnot, but it fits perfectly and goes on right over top. Super cheap. You put your brisket on here, wrap it up in tin foil. When the burners are on, the water that you put in the bottom here, personally I like to use some beef broth in there to give it a little bit more flavor. Then you take your temperature probe, remember where the points are, and just put it directly in, and that way you'll get your reading accurately. At 190 is when you pull it off. Hey guys, welcome back. This is the final day of our week-long cook for Montreal smoked meat. So let's do a recap. The first thing we did was cure it with salt, pepper, coriander, bay leaves, prog powder, and cardamom seeds. That's something that's different, most people don't use, and I love the taste of it. Then once we get it cured for about a week in the fridge, flipping every day, we take it out, we rinse it. We make sure we get as much of the stuff off the top as we can, and then soak it to try and draw out a lot of the saltiness. Salt is great in the meat, but not too much. Once that's done, the water's running clear, we put it on the smoker. Remember, we have the smoker at 200 degrees because we're trying to get the brisket up to 150. Once we get to 150, we can pull it off the smoker, go to the steamer. Once we have it on the steamer, we wrap it all up, make sure that we contain that steam, and we can bring it up to 195. Once it's at 195, the Montreal smoked meat is done. We can pull it off and let it rest. We rested it overnight in the fridge, making sure it's nice and firm. That way when it goes with the slicer, it slices really clean and really nice, and we can package it up into individual sizes. Let's see what we got. And here you go. You see the wonderful red color from the prog powder? As soon as I sliced into this, the aroma is just amazing. Take a real good look at the marbling in there. Even though this is the lean part, you're getting all that marbling, which is going to lead to an amazing flavor. So now, the only thing that's left, I'm going to take off a little piece just to try, and then we can hit the slicer. So you can have that nice, wonderful smell of the coriander and a little bit of clove. The cardamom gives it a nice little high notes. The meat bends over beautifully. Let's try it and see how it is. That's a really good one. You have the saltiness, but it's not over the top. It's really good. It just melts in your mouth like crumble. Absolutely beautiful. And the red pepper flakes give a little bit of heat on the backside. Oh, that's really nice. That's going to make an amazing sandwich. Pair that with a nice Dijon mustard is going to be amazing. Give me a second, I have to make this into a sandwich. Okay, so we whipped up a quick sandwich using our favorite grainy mustard, Canadian French's, sourdough multigrain bread, and of course our Montreal smoked meat. This looks and smells amazing. Oh, that's amazing. All the flavors come together so nicely. Accented by the vinegar and the mustard and the graininess. Oh, that's a real treat. Thank you for joining us here at Great North Barbecue. This has been amazing. Again, Montreal smoked meat. You'll have a whole recipe in the comments below. Check us out. Don't forget to like and follow and share this with all your friends that love to make good food. And remember, where there's smoke, there's food.